In the last episode, the Zhun-dun was invaded by creatures from the dark that were quickly dealt with. Ivilu feels that Aulo is so lost within himself that he does not care for the details of others. After Ivilu leaves, Aulo criticizes her beliefs and decides that she is young and impressionable. He believes his mother was the only other who thought like him. Aulo recalls her stories and realizations about the Aunts. He remembers a specific story about a faraway group. This group spoke of a time before the Generif, when Aunts filled the dark sky. Aulo then moves to his den and confirms the Aun is missing by referencing an intricate map of the Aunts he had etched into the ceiling of his den. He rests with this knowledge, but his mind takes him to darker places. He then speaks with Fyke, and in return, Fyke brings Aulo an Alvon ring. Aulo tosses the Alvon ring before drifting elsewhere. I see myself floating in a black void, weightless. My eyes are hollowed out. White light fills the sockets and spills over into the abyss. The light moves through my body like liquid, exposing me from the inside out. I am then awoken by the odd noises and stirrings of Fyke. Fyke's soft glow scurries around the room. As I resituate, I feel the Alvon ring rolling around in my hammock. I must have drifted to sleep while tossing. Everyone has these visions while they sleep. They are often without reason. However, this vision left me with a lasting feeling. I try not to worry myself. I have more pressing things to focus on. Group Mother will want to speak with me soon, but I don't know where to begin. While forcing thought, I am distracted by Fyke's glow moving swiftly around the room, his playful noises, and the sound of small items falling. The lack of moisture on my tongue pulls me from my sleeping hammock. Not only thirst, my stomach reminds me of my hunger. I stumble over to my work surface, feeling around for my water rouloun. Empty. I grab another one. Empty. At what point? I am aware that time is against me, but now I must fill my water roulouns. Frustrated, I impatiently feel around for my loun and ignite it with the paste. Light fills the room, and Fyke stands motionless, his beady eyes fixed on the yun cloth pile of his creation. My frustration is cast aside as I smile at his strange behavior. Ignoring the mess, I gather my many roulouns and attach them to my yun clothing. After attaching every rouloun in my possession, I appear foolish. But I am only traveling once, so I will make it worthwhile. I whistle for Fyke, now buried in the pile of yun cloth. He then takes flight, sending cloth and feathers in all directions. I expect nothing less. As I leave my den, I am greeted by warm air rising from the abyss below. Light from my lounge illuminates the textured cliff face with a bluish tint. I feel for grooves in the stone and ascend, an absurd amount of Rulun swaying back and forth as I climb. After hoisting myself over the edge and onto the central plateau, my lounge exposes a clear path toward the interior of the Zhun-dun. I see the crimson glow from Taodun in the distance. The massive bonfire reveals silhouettes of towering Monru mushrooms that line the path. Light filters between the large mushrooms as I walk. Soon the forest of Monru dissipates, and I hear the soft bubbling of the stream. The stream winds through a meadow of low-lying mushroom known as Kyunru. It is fed by waters that flow from deep inside the Zhun-dun rock formation. The waters gush from a crevasse and overflow into streams before cascading to the canyon abyss. The stream is well lit by large area lounds half my length, each in different shades of blue and green. A trail hugs the stream and connects Taodun Bonfire to the bathing pools further downstream. I fill my Ruluns while Fike plays in the water's current. The waters cool my hands as I submerge the Ruluns. Any relief from the heat is appreciated. My thoughts move to the possibility of other group members walking the trail. It is easier to avoid these uncomfortable interactions, so I fill quickly. After filling my last Rulun, I attach it to my clothing. The weight of so many filled Ruluns is something I did not account for. I stumble away and Fike continues to splash in the stream, completely oblivious. I know he enjoys the water, but I have more important things to focus on. I whistle to him and he reluctantly follows, occasionally shaking water from his feathers. A ways down the path, my legs collapse under the water weight. I relieve myself of the water Ruluns and rest against the root ball of a Monru mushroom. It isn't just the weight of the Ruluns. It is the weight of all matters. Fike squats next to me and tilts his head down the path. I wipe the sweat from my hairline and speak. What are we trying for, Fike? My vision of bringing light to the lands of Iorun feels further away. A lost down, the threat of exile. Tokun's standing. Time is becoming dim, Fike, and I am left aimless, facing matters that may not be achievable. Or maybe not achievable for me. Maybe I lack what is needed. Fike turns and stares directly at me, as if he wishes to say something. No one stands by me in my efforts but you. And you are only a bird. Why have I set myself to these expectations? I look to the dark sky, obscured by the branching Monru limbs. Exile is most fitting. Without the pressures of guiding my own fate, only the dark lands of Iorun. Fike takes flight and uses a calloused hook at the end of his tail to snatch a Rulun. Sometimes I feel he is listening. In this moment, I notice Fike. I notice his unwavering loyalty. I notice his trust in me. Fike may only be a bird, a strange bird at that, but he has been at my side through all matters. The strength of our bond continues to encourage me. I look up to him and say, Fike, I shine for you. He hovers next to me, wafting warm air downward. I rest a few more Raloons onto his tailhook, and we struggle back to the den. Upon return, I fall into my sleeping hammock. Water Raloons scattered on the floor. A layer of sweat envelops me while I try to force my thoughts. I realize the time is becoming dim, but I have no focus. Time spent is no good without focus. I catch Fike in the corner of my eye, attempting to entertain himself with a mess of hewn cloths. If Fike enjoys the waters, we will travel to the waters. Fike, I say, peeking out from the hammock, let us wash at the pools. Fike stares at me with confusion. But when he sees me grab my drying cloth, he runs circles around the room. I'm sure that bathing at the pools is not the best use of my limited time. But the cool waters may help to recenter my thoughts. We wind along the rim of the central plateau, passing many of the giant spheres filled with the liquid fire. The spheres remain motionless on the lip above the canyon abyss, waiting to rain fire on the creatures of the dark. As Fike and I round the edge, I see the blue-green glow that surrounds the bathing pools. The bathing pools are a collapsed section of the central plateau. The collapse formed multiple tiers that were then carved into a series of stone pools by the stream. The waters that empty from the pools cascade into the canyon abyss. This is where us Zhun-dun Reef visit to bathe and cool ourselves. Fike and I wind down a path to one of the lower pools. I hear the conversations of other group members in the pools above me. Meaningless talk. We find a pool without others. It is fed by a waterfall coming from the pool above. Clear waters. The pool bottom distorted only by movement. The area surrounding the pool is blanketed in many different species of mushroom flora. One edge is lined with a beach of fine white sand. Each pool has a giant area lounge to light the space. The lounge placed here emits a heavy blue. Light bounces off the water's surface and animates ripples on the cliff walls. Fike immediately dives the deeper end. I understand why he enjoys the waters. I feel it too. I place my lounge next to the giant area lounge and wade gradually into the pool. As I float peacefully, Fike blasts me with a beakful of water, destroying any serenity I had. I submerge myself and watch the light from the area lounge dance on the water's surface. I like this feeling of weightlessness, not being bound to any hard surface. It reminds me of the vision from my sleep. When I return for air, I take a beam of water straight to the face. I look to the aggressor and say, "Quit it!" Fike made an odd noise and scurried into the patch of mushroom flora. I laugh and wipe the waters from my eyes. I then wade over to the base of the waterfall and immerse myself. The downward force of water washes the grime from my skin. My thoughts return to the conversation with my father. Am I that far from his image? My younger brother, Takai, is becoming everything Tokun wanted from me. He's strong and strong-minded. He even aspires to train Roke and patrol the Zhun-dun, much like Tokun. I am not my brother. I wish Tokun had accepted that. I am then interrupted by a nagging pain in my stomach. Ivilu used to bring me meals, but I guess no longer. I must visit Zhun-dun bonfire. The area surrounding Zhun-dun is the most visited in the Zhun-dun. I tend to avoid these common areas. There is no escaping judgmental eyes. But this is a pain I can no longer ignore. Before leaving the crystalline pool, I take a moment to gaze at the dark sky. I notice the cluster of owls is now rising from the horizon in the opposite direction. Owls still lost. I then snatch my loun and whistle for Fike. Fike emerges from the patch of mushrooms with a bug in his beak. He swallows quickly before going airborne. While I walk the trail from the bathing pools toward Zhun-dun, I notice other group members moving in my direction. They quiet their conversation as they near me. I look down to my feet in passing. A feeling of shame. Undeserved shame. As Fike and I approach, the meadow of Kunru mushrooms gives way to the towering flames of Zhun-dun. The area surrounding Zhun-dun is the brightest in the Zhun-dun. There is no need for a loun. Light is plentiful. Zhun-dun is the heart of the Zhun-reef. All of our nourishing meals are cooked on Zhun-dun's scorching coals. We are born amongst the flames, and we hope to die within the flames, rising as embers and joining the owls in the dark sky, as though Zhun-dun is a gateway to somewhere above. Zhun-dun's flames are directly surrounded by 3 arcing towers. The bases of the towers are housed by reeves who prepare meals for the rest of the group. The true purpose of the towers is to hoist a yun canopy, in protection of Zhun-dun when the rains inevitably return. Zhun-dun has been burning since the Zhun-reef first inhabited the Zhun-dun rock formation. When Zhun-dun burns no longer, it symbolizes the end of Zhun-reef society. The common space around Zhun-dun is lively, with many group members conversing and roasting their meals. As I approach one of the arcing towers, I admire the massive and expansive limbs of the King Monru. The King Monru is the largest Monru and stands as a beacon of time. Its annual luminescent blooms mark the beginning of a new phase. The area encompassing Zhun-dun is one of histories and continuous fortune. Hunks of Conry loin are strung together and hang from the arch. I nestle the Conry meat into mushroom mon and drizzle nectar on top. Hot coals were raked from the bonfire and spread along the perimeter. I place my Conry mon on the coals to watch it sizzle and sear. The smell is amplified by my many loops without eating. Before retrieving my meal, I noticed legs approaching. They stopped before me. Ava Zhun-dun, more commonly known as Group Mother. She oversees the lead of each role, organizes all events, and has the final say in every group decision. Her long blonde braided hair hasn't been cut since birth. I haven't seen her in some time. Faint wrinkles distort her fading luminescent freckles. She extends her hand and I trace my greeting onto her forearm. Aulo, she says with her distinct raspy voice. I reply stunned. Ava Zhun-dun. Follow, she says. It is long past time we spoke.